Next. All right. Again, staff is universally praised. The free piles, most requested. Hours are a major theme. So these are just some thematic stuff. We had a lot of anecdotal stuff and quotes, but there's no really great. So this kind of comes out of that. Residents appreciate the cleanliness, convenience, and community feel. All right. Next. Back to the online survey, we did ask people about their recycling practices. These are all the ways that people recycle, not necessarily only what's available in Enfield. So we have the largest number of people only recycle items that can be picked up on curbside or taken to the transfer station. We have to me, a significant number, 25% that separate organic waste from their landfill waste, so they are finding ways to compost, although we don't provide that here in Enfield. And so we see 41% recycle everything it can, even if they have to go to multiple places. What do you find most challenging? We have household hazardous chemicals is the winner. Electronics seem to baffle people. I know we take them at the Enfield transfer station, and I still always go, what do I do? You know, I'm one of those people that has a printer sitting on the floor of a room for the last year and a half, wondering where I take it. So batteries, household, and then organic food waste is still in there. So. All right, again, very quickly. So we were asked to see how people feel about the education or understanding what they can do. And we do find that there's a lot of people that feel well informed, but there's a significant number, that 3 in that first column, that don't feel well informed about proper waste disposals. Obviously, interestingly, in this graph, people say they are not willing to pay additional fees for improved waste management services. Although if you add up the 2 through 5, and then if you have easy access to recycling facilities in our community, that is a positive trend there. Okay, how can the town improve, expand recycling options, lower costs, adding a composting program, longer or more convenient hours, bulk item disposal options, hazardous waste collection days. So the expanded recycling options, bulk items, hazardous waste. So people want us to expand services. You can see that. And again, then on this question, would you support paying a small fee increase for expanded recycling and compost options? The maybes and the yes outweigh the no's, but I think it's how you do it. So this is where we get to our recommendations.
The maybes and no's outweigh
I don't know. See, maybe to me is a positive. All right. Our top themes, we saw other service ideas, electronics, hazardous waste. You can go on. Access. So these were just themes for the open-ended questions, which we had a lot of. Again, these are some representative quotes. I only recycle items that can be picked up curbside or taken to the transfer station. The third one down, limited bins are hard for large families. My family of 7 easily fills 2 bins plus more each cycle and has to use the transfer station in addition every few weeks. We found that signage information could be improved at the facility. And then again, information is another one. It came up, confusion over what Enfield transfer station takes versus what should be brought to Lebanon. We did receive a lot of comments that said, I don't do it because I'm lazy. I didn't include them here. All right, so on to why we're here, the policy recommendations. Keeping both services with targeted improvements. So some of these are the low-hanging fruit. Maintain curbside pickup and the transfer station, but improve transfer station hours and signage. These are potential, and they would just have to be experimented with or talked out. Do we change Sunday hours to another weeknight evening or Thursday, Friday? Do we provide an earlier weekday opening? So I guess Wednesday we open at 11, so at 8 a.m. instead. Definitely want to add new signs for improved traffic flow and add a sign that says we're closed at capacity. We have started to close the transfer station once we fill the compactor. Using the overflow increases our costs. It's almost double. So instead of, it's a significant, so once that compactor is filled, we have been closing the transfer station, but they don't have appropriate signage that lets people know. So some people show up and are like, the gates are just locked. So clarify rules for out-of-state use and enforce stickers or bag policy. We'll get to that. Create special service programs. Add a couple of bulky item collection days or pickup service days, and maybe contracting with Pellerin or somebody else to do those. So we have, I don't know if anyone else notices, but there seems to be a buildup of old furniture on street corners, depending where you live, of items that, nobody wants your couch that's been rained on, but folks, you have to drive that all the way to Lebanon. There is some folks that say they would rather pay an extra, I think it's $25 to take a couch in Lebanon. If we, charge $35, that would account for us having to take it there, pay their fee plus our gas. So there are some people that'd be willing to do that. Tire-free forgiveness day, or add a registration tax to cover tire disposal fees. Grantham is an example of a town that's doing that. Add a composting service. Grantham has just implemented a composting program at their landfill, or potentially work with an existing composting company, Lebanon and Hanover. So Upper Valley, I can't remember the name of the company, but if you ever see yellow bins outside of homes in Hanover, that's a composting service that people directly contract with. I use them, but I take mine to the co-op and I drop off there. So can we get those companies to come to Enfield and provide the same? That would be individuals, not paid for by the town, but try to get them to cross 89 and come this way. Add a textile collection days or a textile collection bin. We investigate hosting a hazardous waste disposal day. These are usually sponsored by the Regional Planning Commission, and so get them to have one here. Maybe host a shredathon. Again, the co-op is a really good example. They host one, and again, just if we're providing the service, like a location for the service, people would then pay for their own shredding or hazardous waste. Sometimes that's done in there's different programs or methods to do those. And then increase our medical waste sharp collection, promote days and collection sites. I know we have a collection site at the police department, but where else? Because the guys at the transfer station do talk about needles poking through bags at times, and just how do we create more awareness of medical waste and sharp collections. Okay, Holly's recommendations, slide 2. So create more education to add to the website, frequently asked questions section, section on how do I dispose of blank, especially items not mentioned in the solid waste guide. Link to current updated zero sort information. There's a scan it option, barcode scan for item recyclability, links to recycling services, Casella route map. We floated around ideas about like an online free pile. I forgot to add to this. Well, I guess we'll come back to free pile. Also doing workshops of how to compost. I know at one point Enfield had a composting program, or they provided bins for people to do it in their backyards. But there are companies that are doing it better, and so you don't have to take that on yourself for folks that. I'm not good at rotating mine. That bin was reclaimed by nature. So workshops on zero sort, recycling markets, bears and other pests on how to avoid them, maybe hosting a fix-it day. So these are all kind of options. We want to revisit program participants, look at removing multifamily. There's an Airbnb exclusion. Jim can explain those better. Finding funding, implement user fees. So these are some ways to like maybe increase some funding. So user fees, do we have a trash toter resignation fee like they do in Plainfield where people buy a sticker to put on their toter? Do we do trash bags like they do in the Lebanon, for the Lebanon one? One of the biggest issues that we do have at our transfer station are people from other communities who think it's free. And yes, you have to have a sticker on your car, but it's really hard for the guys to see the sticker on your car because we don't have somebody at the gate, right, that lets them in like you would at Lebanon. And so a lot of times people are in line or have even thrown their bags in before maybe it's noticed that they don't have a sticker on their car. I know I keep my sticker in my glove box, but I don't go to the transfer station that often. I know Dan Kiley over here has all of his dated for the last 6 years. I'm impressed. So, or is there somewhere in between where if there are houses that don't, if we have a sticker or a bag system, and there are people that obviously can't get Casella, do we give them a roll of 100 bags? Ed did some quick math at the very beginning of like about 4 bags per toter, fit into that times 26 weeks, that's 100 bags, right? And people that don't have access to curbside pickup, they get a roll of bags. Residents might get a sticker, maybe that's just included, and then anything additional you purchase. So we have bags available. So then if people from surrounding communities, Canaan or whatever, show up and they don't have their stuff in the really cool Enfield pink bags, that's a lot more visible for attendants to be able to see versus a sticker placed somewhere on the car, right? We can stop that, but if they purchase the bags from Jake's or someplace, then hey, throw your trash in there. So those are some ways to implement small fees in small increments that, so operational, do a cost analysis of owning a roll-off dumpster hauler versus current trucking costs. These are some further research needs to be done. Cut down on roadside free piles, furniture, etc. We talked about how do we re-implement the free pile, and if there's enough citizen interest, would they themselves volunteer to monitor that free pile and not put the onus on, but someone would have to organize that. So surveillance equipment at the transfer station, how to implement bag or sticker system before folks get into the transfer station line. So that was what I was just sort of alluding to. We talked about, do we reconfigure the transfer station and move it so that there is an easier way to check cars before they get in line? Is there a way that we can separate out and have 2 lanes? We'd have to move some things around, so that would take a little bit of architectural work. So, and I think that's it. Do we have more? Yeah. Yes. So that's where we can stop sharing. That's what our committee did. We spent a lot of time on that. We have some recommendations. Most would have to be looked further into, which would be based off of you all and where you'd want to go. And Jim, did you want to add anything?
I guess the only thing I would add was we also discussed some about the, perhaps transferring multifamily locations into the commercial realm where they have to make their own arrangements. But, you'd have to figure out where would you draw the line on that. Is it 5 units? Is it 10 units? Is it, something like that. But anyway, I've had people that have approached me and said, why are we paying for all this multifamily, which is it's a lot here in town. We have a lot of multifamily dwellings, so that was another one.
What was the Airbnb one again?
Well, the Airbnb is just, how do you, a lot of people are doing Airbnb, and so, the trash, they want to clean it out after each rental. And, how do you account for that? Do you make them get a dumpster? Do we, let them use the transfer station? Do we, have a sticker that goes with the Airbnb? I mean, there's a lot of things that should be worked out there. But I mean, there's a lot of Airbnbs in Enfield with the lakes and so forth. So
And then the one thing I forgot to put on there is that the other kind of program is to create more education around the fact that trash that goes to the transfer station costs us more than curbside. Do people realize that? We have people that choose to use the transfer station for all sorts of reasons. Some of it's they don't generate enough trash, or they generate too much trash, or they generate, if they're a temporary residence that's in the off weeks, or they have long driveways or bears. But that costs us more than using curbside. The recycling costs us more. We talked about, do we try to develop systems where we tease out and have a cardboard compactor, and then we sell the cardboard. Now we'd have to build some sort of shelter because cardboard can't get wet. And then what would Casella think of that? Because that's a moneymaker for them, right? They want our cardboard. And the transfer station's used a lot for cardboard. I know that's, when I have a lot of bulky cardboard, that's where it goes because it doesn't fit in my toter. But I think there's a big, like if we can maybe even just start to try to formulate a task force, a group, the Conservation Commission might be interested in like campaigning to like lower our footprint in Enfield. Can we get more people composting? Composting food waste accounts for 33% of trash, and it's heavy. So we pay tipping fees based off of weight, not what's in there, right? And so if people are, banana peels, they add up and they don't compost once they go in a landfill. Then they say 100 years from now, they're going to be a full banana peel versus if we can get a composting program. How do we get folks to do more and as a community come together and try overall? We are dependent upon the landfill in Lebanon. Their costs are going up just like everything else because they have to find new spots. So we are dependent upon them. We are dependent upon a service to take our stuff there. And so maybe one of the biggest things we can do is try to find a way to just get everyone to reduce, which is the first part of the paradigm. So, Jean, did you want to add anything?
I just want to say that going to the transfer station for 2 hours for 3 days was quite the eye-opener. And if anybody would like to really see what goes on, I highly suggest that you do a little volunteer stint up there. Those guys are amazing. I can't believe what they have to put up with from the public. And the transfer station is run really well, and they really do a great job.
Thank you very much.
So that's all we got. Any questions?
I think it's very thorough, your analysis and what you all looked at. And I don't think all of it's a surprise, but it's nice to know that we have a good handle kind of on what people want, and having the ideas on how to do the reduction component, I think is really important, because when people tell you they want slightly increased services, but they don't want to pay more money, it's always an interesting paradigm. Like, I mean, I too like nice things, and I also do not like to pay for them, but that's not how life works. So I think there were some really good ideas in there how to streamline, and I particularly like the signage components. I've had a few folks comment, and until today, I didn't know there weren't two lines, because I've always been of the mind you could pull up alongside the barrier, and that's line number 2, and then you loop around the back, because, well, I see everyone else do it. So who knew there was one line? So I think there you go, right? I've been doing it probably wrong for years. So just some of those pieces to help the guys out when they're working so hard. I think the other piece I've heard a lot from the public that wasn't necessarily addressed here is the people who come in and do give our workers a very hard time, who are most likely not residents, right? And how do we deal with that? And that's something operationally that we owe our employees to take care of in a way that keeps them safe and because some folks really do think they can come from anywhere.
Mhm.
And the sticker issue, I hadn't even thought about the checking. So I really appreciate you highlighting that.
I will make a note that Jean kicked out a car full of people from another town when she was there. She did. Yeah, it's really hard, and it's hard without an attendant at the gate, which would have to be someone there at that post, but we don't, then the cars would line up out onto Lock Haven. So again, some of that setup isn't really conducive. And so that's why maybe a bag system that's more visible. But again, having to balance that with that, so it's as fair as possible. Nothing's going to be completely fair, but for all residents, you know. It's one thing if you choose not to use toters. It's another thing if you don't have it available to you, right? So that's where there has to be some compromise there to kind of make it even. But then people who are using both, you know, there's a slightly additional fee, $4 for a roll of trash bags, you know, our signature color.
Okay, Lindsay, I'm going to move it along,
Okay.
okay? Thank you very much. You've done some really good, hard work.
Can I add one thing real quick?
Certainly.
Just wanted to, we will get this PowerPoint to the select board, and we'll post one online as well so people can see it. But I'd like the select board to start thinking about this. I will work with Jim based on this information and come back to you guys to have a discussion if there's something that we want to look a little bit more into or go. I think, you know, bringing up some of the concerns with Airbnb, you know, some of the people outside the area using them, maybe looking at a bag system or something might work. And it's also, you know, something for the select board to think of, you know, do we go more fee-based or do we keep it in the tax rate? And that's just some things to think about. I think there's a lot of good information here, and it'll take a little while to digest it before we make a final decision.
Thank you, Ed. Anything from the board? Quickly?
Oh, I think
Really
one.
quickly,
oh,
I
sorry.
was, sorry, Tracy.
No.
I was thrilled to see the high numbers for the people who love their toters, because if we did away with them, I don't know what I would do.
Thank you.
As you suggested, Ed, I'd like to see the PowerPoint, and once we have a chance to digest it, then we'll schedule a meeting among ourselves to discuss thoughts that we each have with regard to the reaction to the report, which is an excellent report.
Good. Thank you. Next up, we have a lifeguard discussion. I think Ed will lead.
So the lifeguard discussion, this is something we've had on and off kind of the last few years at the budget committee. I don't know how many of you guys know, I'm sure Tracy can help attest that lifeguards are very, very difficult to come by. Many places, not just Enfield, have been having a lot of trouble getting them hired. I want to say there's multiple reasons. I can't really list them all, but I know the requirements for lifeguards, the classes have gotten a little bit stricter. Makes it a little harder for people to get that. One of the rules in lifeguarding now is 15 minutes on, and then you're supposed to transfer off. So having someone sit in the chair for hours is not what they're supposed to be doing. And then just, you know, pay continuing to creep up. We have raised our rates up into the $18 an hour range, and we could probably go a little higher if we wanted to, but we're not even getting anybody applying to sit in a lifeguard chair. So going into this budget, I lowered the hours that we were budgeting for from 1,100 hours a year to 250 hours, just knowing that we're probably not going to be able to hire anybody. And when we were discussing that at the budget committee, they asked that maybe we have this discussion at the select board level of just doing away with the lifeguard position completely. I did have Todd talk to the rec commission to see their thoughts. I don't want to say they were okay with it. They had a discussion and they kind of seemed to be okay with it as long as we could bring it back if it started seeming easier to to hire lifeguards, and then they also had a discussion about maybe moving some of that money for other safety initiatives, like rodeos, those types of things, just to keep some of that money in safety. I did put a packet together for you with a note, mostly to deal with liability. I've mentioned this multiple times, but if you have an open public recreation area that's open for the public, whether you're a municipality or a private person, that you do not have liability as long as it's open and you're not charging admission and you're not inhibiting who can and cannot come there. So in a beach swimming area like we have, there would be no liability on the town not to have a lifeguard, but it's more of a decision of, is that something we would like to provide or not like to provide? We've tried multiple different ways of advertising and put one out a year ago or something that, hey, you want to get paid to stay at the beach. And we got no interest at all. So just wanted to have this discussion at the select board level and see if we wanted to reduce those hours down to 0 in this year's budget, or if we wanted to put something in there for the possibility.
I think it's a reasonable idea that we eliminate the lifeguard budget, but I would like to see that money go to other safety considerations. I'd like to see decent signage that announces that we don't have a lifeguard there, along with a number right with the sign that you can call immediately and get a quick response from whichever one of our patrolmen are on duty right at that moment. I'd like to make sure that we have rope there with a life preserver that can be immediately thrown to someone. I'd like to make sure that the ropes at Shakoma particularly are in good working order. So with safety considerations in mind, proper signage, I think it can do without a budget for the lifeguards, but some of that money can be shifted towards safety needs.
Ed, does providing these items impact our insurance liability at all?
It might. It would be something that I would have to look into. As I discussed with you today, when we opened the Arrowhead mountain biking area, talked about wear your helmet signs, those types of things, and Primex actually advised against it. So it would be one of those things to work with our insurance to make we're doing what they would want us to do at that situation. Some of those, though, it seems like good common sense to have that stuff there, that it almost opens you up to more liability. But some of those, so it would be working with them if we decided to do that. It may be something worth doing or looking.
As usual, our lives are run by lawyers and insurance companies. So it is a shame that common sense ideas are trashed by those particular jobs.
Thank you. Other comments?
Yeah, each time we talk about eliminating the lifeguard or why we have this position, I probably have told you the same story, which is that when Shaker Bridge was replaced, there was no swimming area, and so children sought other places to swim. You couldn't swim in the place that is now Lakeside Park either, because that was used as a staging area. So kids went down to what is known as the Point, Beaver Point, and a child drowned. And they drowned because we didn't find them an alternative place. I chipped in money to pay for a funeral. And frankly, I don't like hearing every year, oh, we can't get a lifeguard, oh, we offered X number of pay. If you want a specialty position in any company, make a plan in advance to train them. So I see this as a shortcoming. That each year we have this conversation and we're like, hey, there's no one to hire. When in fact, we could be implementing a training program, recruiting in advance, not hoping that someone applies. Because this hope that someone applies each year isn't working for us historically. It's not a new problem, right? But we haven't tried to find a solution.
I'm going to say that we have. We've offered many people to send them to training. It's not something that we can do in-house training for. We've offered classes. We've tried to get our camp counselors to take lifeguard training, not only so we have them at camp, but so they could provide some services at other times. And we have yet to find anybody that's willing to go take the training.
So is there an advertisement each year that's coming out well in advance? Because I have never seen one, and this is the first time I've heard we do some kind of offer of training. Are we making a public offer, or are we just making an offer to people that we, see in the order of business, like our regular employees for camp?
We can try again, but we've put ads out and we've offered to train.
I have a comment. I think I understand the reasoning behind wanting to eliminate it, but I think my feeling based on what's been going on this fall and winter is that Enfield is only going to increase in popularity this summer. And I think as a town on a lake, like we're lucky enough to have a town on a lake, I think it's part of our responsibility to try to offer one spot where parents can send their kids and know that there's going to be a lifeguard there, rather than just my thinking. Might just not be the right time to be scaling down something.
Other comments from the board?
I guess I'll just wait. I'm comfortable removing the lifeguards. We've successfully operated the beach the last few years without them. It'd be nice to have them, but it's not a requirement at this point. So I'm comfortable with the plan put forth.
We need a vote.
I would like to see a motion or vote so I know what to do.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion that we eliminate the budget for lifeguards from the planned budget.
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Does not pass.
I'll finish the vote.
Yes, finish the vote. Those opposed signify by saying nay.
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 Okay, thank you.
All we've said nay to is keeping money in the budget.
Yes.
I will maintain it at the 250 hours, the reduced number. We'll go out and we'll try to find lifeguards. If we happen to find more than that, then I will find more money.
And I'd like to get those answers that you suggest are the complications to not having a lifeguard, in addition, obviously, to having this well-written letter reviewed by our attorney, perhaps. Hearing what Primex has to say, if we tried to provide just a few of those minimal safety possibilities for an unguarded beach.
Yep. No, I'll ask them what we can do.
Opposed withdrawals from reserves and trusts.
So in your packet, you have a memo about withdrawing money from the community nursing program. And then the other one is withdrawing some money from the capital improvement program fund for the fire truck that was ordered.
I did notice that the nursing fund balance, as we saw it, would seem to have enough for a little less than 2 years. It would be nice if we put some emphasis on building that fund up so that we had a 2-year reserve at least, meaning that we would have to think about it in the second year or by the middle of the second year. But as it is right now, that amount of money, we don't have enough for 2 years.
Well, and like I said, I don't disagree with you. I think we need to do another fundraising campaign for that. The $35,759 is a Lebanon payment and this year's community nurse. So the community nurse that we've contracted with, billing direct hours, and it'll be less than what we were paying to Lebanon for more direct service. We may have a little more than 2 years, 2 to 3 years worth, but like I said, I still think it's worth effort.
I think it's worth putting some effort in, as you have mentioned, and seeing if we have a 2-year reserve available to be able to sustain the program.
I'll make a motion to withdraw $35,759.25 from the Community Nursing Trust Fund for qualified community nursing program expenses incurred from date of inception through November 19th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays? None.
I don't have the withdrawal proposal for the,
It's on the same page on the bottom.
on the same page on the bottom. Didn't get that page.
Other side I want to eat.
Yeah, didn't get that page.
I have mine.
Make a motion to withdraw up to $383,573 of Capital Improvement Program Capital Reserve Fund, the 2025 E1 pumper tanker.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Unanimous. Okay, next, set a public hearing date for proposed water and sewer rates.
So we're recommending that at the next regularly scheduled select board meeting that we have a public hearing for water sewer rates. I'll be working with Jim Taylor soon to hopefully get those finalized and set. I'll get some information to the board and we'll post what we have publicly so people can see it as well.
Well, there goes Christmas.
Do you need a motion?
I would like a motion to set a public hearing date.
I make a motion to set the public hearing date for proposed water and sewer rates as December 15th, 2025 at 6 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Next, abatement of taxes from tax deeded properties. And we have for Ed Laughlin, Joseph Barnum, and Town of Enfield. And I seem to have sheets that need signatures.
No, they were all copied that way. The signature sheets are in the
They're all
yellow
put,
folder.
with the little stickers and everything.
Can you just give me a quick summary of what this is about, Ed?
The abatements that we need approved are actually two Town of Enfield properties that we took by tax deed. So we just need to have you abate the taxes due because they are now owned by the town. And then we will move forward. One of them is a mobile home in the Lakeside Cooperative. So we'll be working with them to sell the property as we've done in our normal process. And then the other one is a house up off Rice Road, a property up there that we'll be coming back to the board to determine what we want to do with that.
So we're in the process of following our mobile home policy for the first one.
Yeah, we have some time frame parameters that we need to get done there, but yes, I planned on following that policy. I'll bring
For
that.
the Rice Road one, we're in the process of processing it as a tax deeded property.
Yeah, they've both been tax deeded. They're both now town-owned properties, and I will work with this moving forward on what we want to do with it. But we do need a motion to complete this.
We'll make a motion to abate the properties as listed. Not enough?
You read the map. then.
Oh, yep.
Map 2, Lot 52 for $955.44. Map 14, Lot 11-20 for $329.83.
What Tracy said.
Not enough?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Your third one, Ed?
No, the other two are informational items in your packet for return payments. We have those happen every year where bank makes an escrow payment and they come pay their taxes as well, something like that. So it was just an overpayment. We need your guys' signature to return those, but we don't need a motion.
So those are basically simply overpayments, if you will.
Yes, that's exactly what they were, so they're refunds. The last thing we have is the affirmation of the two appointments. The deputy treasurer, deputy town clerk.
Only have 2 documents we need to be signed.
John?
I would like to make a motion to affirm the treasurer's appointment of Tina Stearns as deputy treasurer and the town clerk's appointment of Sasha Holland as deputy town clerk for the town of Enfield.
Second.
Whatever.
Favor, signify by
Aye.
saying aye.
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 Public comments. Sir.
In follow-up of the lifeguard discussion, it occurred to me that that the Mascoma Lake Association provides safety equipment in the form of boxes of life preservers near the boat ramp, and that when this I forget the name of the skating association, they had simple ice rescue equipment that was provided both by what are non-municipal organizations.
Well, if Primex causes us a problem as a municipality, maybe those life preservers will simply show up as an anonymous donation to the beach. Nice box. Thank you.
Online.
We have a motion to adjourn?
John, you have one person.
I would like to make a comment.
No public comments?
I would like to make a comment.
John Essler was your first person with a hand up.
Just one thing, I looked at the election schedule, and it shows that we're not going to get the annual report until early March. What are we going to have for the deliberative session then, if we don't have the annual report?
Yeah, we'll have to get some sort of warrant out, but the town report comes out after deliberative session normally, I believe. Because we have to put the final warrant in the town report. I can look into that a little more.
I thought Alyssa said that we were going to get the town report by the deliberative session, but must have
I
misunderstood.
don't believe so. I think it comes out right after the session, before the March session.
I believe the school district publishes their full booklet beforehand, and then they send another mailing if they're, there have been changes, but not a lot over time. So I think you have to make a publication of some kind.
Know that on the warrant, information for the deliberative session, we talked about a narrative that goes with each of the potential votes, so that there would be some discussion, information.
Yeah, except we need to see the budget at the deliberative session, not a narrative on the budget itself. Because that's what you're voting on. You're not voting on a narrative. You're voting on the budget.
Yeah, you're discussing them. So we'll have to put a warrant out of some sort, some information, but I will look into process a little bit
I think we just have to duplicate the budget, make it as an available handout.
Yeah, it'll have to come out twice. Because it may be amended at deliberative session.
Yeah, but I mean, the budget that we propose would simply have to be an individual handout. You have to make a couple, 300, 400 copies, then so be it. It's part of the expense of doing a deliberative session like that.
David L. Stewart, George Hill. First, I'd just like to say about this budget not being available for deliberative session, I would be fully in favor of voting it down, making up a number and have that for the number at the town meeting. But I wanted to come out as opposed to any zoning changes as proposed by the planning board to increase the density, the Enfield Village, before we have a study to determine whether there will be enough water to provide for all the potential units that could be built under that plan. I don't want to see it on the ballot. Thank you.
My understanding, Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, please, is that we do expect a report from Horizon before deliberative session. Is that correct?
No, I don't believe we will.
You don't believe we will? Okay, then I misunderstood.
No, they'll be working with the developers during the final development of their project. If the town wanted to do a large scale, then we would have to get some estimates on that funding, and I'm sure it'd be a multi-year process.
Can I just get a clarification, Ed? Because I keep hearing people ask for things related to Laramie Farms, which is a development and a planning board project largely, and talking about the deliberative session. Are we expecting some kind of article for some reason? I don't understand how they're tied together, I guess.
Not for that. They're talking about the proposed zoning changes that are.
Oh, okay.
That will be in the March ballot.
Oh, but the zoning changes are for the whole town. They're not for Laramie Farms.
They're not for Laramie Farms, but a few, and Eric could probably explain better, a few of the articles coming forward are for zoning changes in the village district area, which I guess are lending itself to possible more density in the village district.
I actually think Dr. Tice has had his hand up for much longer than I.
John Essler has.
Well, perhaps I see Dr. Tice on there.
Yeah.
So,
Dr. Tice? Connect?
You're muted.
Muted now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. What you need to think about and at least consider is ENV-DW 404.05, additional design standards requiring that in order to calculate the amount of water that is able to be supplied in the daily use and in the maximum daily use, you must have the largest producing well turned off. That means that even if you use the radiation and nuclide removal from the McConnell well, you can't use that well unless you have a well that produces more that you can turn off in order to calculate the water availability to the users on the municipal system. And I want to be sure that you bring that up when you start calculating what water is available. The second thing I want to point out is the transfer station is an essential part of the disposal of trash in this community. If you get rid of the transfer station, you're going to have people throwing their trash into the woods. I've got many pictures of used tires, garbage cans, paint cans full of all kinds of material, that have been thrown into the woods along and tires that have been thrown into the woods along Bog Road and elsewhere when the price of recycling the tires was raised. The people here will throw their trash into the woods rather than pay the fees. So you've got to have some place that the transfer station can be accommodated. People who have long driveways and who otherwise can't use the pickup services along the curbside. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tice. I don't think we will lose track of the possibility of trash ending up in our woods, in our log landings, in our Class 6 roads. Thank you.
John, you still have John Essler online, who was waiting very patiently.
Pardon?
John Essler has been online for quite a long time.
Way to go. Okay, and I'll try and keep this short.
Thank you.
Put this under the title of Traffic Safety on Crystal Lake Road. I don't think I've spoken to the board before on this, but Ed, I know I've talked to you about things like changing the speed limit, and I know of some of the concerns about that. But we also talked about the use of these special flashing traffic signs. I don't know the right name for them, the ones that indicate your speed and can say different things to you. I talked to Chief Holland today, and he's had a couple of quotes. But the main point is that from what he got from the information from other chiefs is that the most effective way to control speed on a road like Crystal Lake is these flashing traffic signs. And I know the cost, I've heard the cost today, I think was 4 signs for about $13,000, another price for 6 signs, I forget what it is. But my question to the town, how do you feel about this? I hope you feel positively about this. Is maybe the best way, not with any lines in the road or whatever, but to slow down traffic on Crystal Lake Road. And I wonder if you have the funds for it. Okay, folks? What's your thoughts?
I can say that I proposed this initially, I think. I'm a big proponent of these signs. I think they can be very effective. I can't speak to the finances because I haven't heard anything about finances of the signs at this point. However, I suspect that there's quite a bit of support for those signs.
Sure.
I have not polled the board on this.
I think the
Okay.
signs are a very good idea, and we should follow through on that. But in addition, I've been through there and looked at the turtles that are painted on the road. And I think they're fine. They need to be maybe a little bit larger and perhaps a little further spread apart. But essentially, the idea is a solid other plan.
Ed?
So for the signs, the Chief Holland did get prices on those. They are right in that $12,000 to $16,000 range, depending on which brand we go with. I'm having him to continue to look into those, make sure that we get quality signs. So I want to get a little bit of that, but I am looking, and it appears that we'll have enough money in this year's budget left over to get those ordered. We're planning on ordering 4 of them. Don't want to say they're movable signs, but they're signs that go on regular delineator posts like our stop signs. So if we did decide to pull them and put them somewhere else for a while, we would be able to do that.
Wait, so when you go the right speed, does it say thank you?
The sign
No,
that, the better sign the chief talked about will say that.
I know, because I know in Chester they have it, and I'm a big fan.
Right.
I wanted to just note, I had a couple people ask me if anyone could paint anything they wanted on the road, and I said, that is outside my ability to answer, call the town manager or the police chief, but not everybody is a huge fan, and I think there are definitely questions of who is entitled to paint the road. So let's be a little bit careful about encouraging people to go painting the road.
No, as stated, and we talked about this today, I need to talk a little bit more with my DPW. I think there's some concerns about it from there, and we're also still looking into the legalities. I know the lady who presented stated that under her interpretation of the law, it was legal, but we're gonna look into that a little more before we paint much more. We did authorize her as a select board at the last meeting to paint a couple, just so we knew what she was talking about.
I don't recall handing out an authorization. Was there a motion?
There
Did
was
I-
not a motion, but it was stated during the presentation. And
I most certainly did not agree to anything upfront without getting a legal opinion or a true opinion.
I'm with you on that. Other comments from the board?
Still waiting.
Sir?
Dave Buffet, again, I echo Dan's concern about trying to run deliberative session without having a robust report. The school has been doing it for years, decades, and I believe Canaan has as well. And they both have printed materials out. It may not be final form, but it's out and available for use during those sessions. Very important. I hope the select board insists that they be there.
Thank you.
I will, like I said, I'll look into that, but we were planning on getting the full budget out, robust warrant. I mean, all the information that you would need to have a deliberative session, whether we print the formal town report before or after with all the town reports, those types of things. We'll get some information on which way we should do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't think we need the whole fancy town report with photographs and statements from people we've never heard of before.
John, you have Bridget Labrie online.
Who?
Bridget Labrie.
Yes?
Hello. So I guess the one thing I was thinking about as we just talked about the turtles painted on Crystal Lake Road, it reminded me, I believe it was master planning. We discussed how wide the lanes are does play a role in when you're driving with your sight and how fast you go. So while I personally am not sure that turtles make sense for this, but I do think that maybe it's just that a dividing line is painted along that road that would cause people to maybe go a little slower as they try to make sure that they are staying on their side of the road. And that might be another consideration on top of, like, I like the sign idea as well, because it reminds you and it catches your eye real quick.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, folks.